whether or not that could be a full ceremony. It could be. We could see his family arrive there, all of that, and speak and honor his memory. If that is the case, you'll be sure to watch it here on Live Now from Fox as we bring it to you full and commercial free. And keeping an eye on the podium there over in Utah, as this news conference should be starting shortly, 10 a.m. on the East Coast and 7 a.m. on the West Coast. It did appear that they were waiting until the top of the hour for everyone to come out. At this point, that has not happened just yet, but we are moments away, we're told. There was a spokesperson who walked up maybe 6-8 minutes ago and said that we were 4 minutes away from this getting underway. And we do have this and several other angles you can see right here on your screen, as this one's a little bit farther out, but not quite sure if it's on the same timeline or if maybe one of them's on a delay. However, we're going to take this image right here because it is closer to the podium and you can see a little bit more. As we saw one of the cameras pan over to the left, we can see some of the folks that are with law enforcement. They are standing in there and essentially just waiting to walk up. That is the spokesperson there who we heard from earlier, who just walked by on the screen, walking over to the right and sitting down to indicate there that this is likely to begin here shortly. There she is, walking back over to the left. And I am repeating myself quite a bit here as we wait for this news conference to get underway. I just want to make sure if you're just turning this on, because we can see our viewer count there on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. And as the number goes up, we know that people are tuning in. We want to make sure they know that President Trump and now the FBI Director, Kash Patel, have announced that an arrest has been made in connection with the assassination, the murder there of Charlie Kirk, a very well-known conservative activist. This all happening just under 48 hours ago. This was around 12 o'clock-ish local time over on Wednesday at Utah Valley University, as we know that Charlie Kirk was speaking to that crowd, estimated to be about 3,000 people. As of right now, the Associated Press, Reuters, Fox News are all reporting via sources that the suspect has been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. No other details released, and that's likely one of the pieces of information we're going to get here from authorities as they take the podium. Again, the Utah Department of Public Safety, the FBI, Kash Patel could be there like he was last night. We could get comments from him. We already heard from President Trump a bit earlier as he was speaking to Fox News. We played that for you here as he did make the announcement saying that he was alerted that an arrest had been made about 5 minutes before he went on set for that pre-planned interview. We had heard about that for a while. Here we go. Let's lift up the audio.
At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilize these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI, and we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that have stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere. And every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. Like, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Governor, can you please speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that right now.
Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on casing?
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating.
Please.
Talk about this level of hatred that this person expressed. Beyond that, is there anything in your view that you discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor,
Yeah,
you indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
You believe he acted alone?
Yes, but the investigation is ongoing.
How he came into custody of police and where he is right now, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where we're southwesternmost part of the state of Utah, it's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, go here. I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. So how we obtained the gun? The gun was found here. So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry? We don't have any information that would lead us to believe that. Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you. Over here.
Very eloquently about trying to reunite this country. Do you feel that this is a watershed in American history?
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history, yes. The question is what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s, and having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets. We are not wired as human beings biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. But this is our moment. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Could we clarify that the release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m., the timeline that Director Patel gave us, led to the arrest at 10 p.m.? Is there a direct connection between those two events?
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here. Yes.
Suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about where, and was he a student here at this university, and is there any history of mental illness?
Yeah. So. I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
So you just heard here on Live Now from Fox as officials detail the arrest and the Charlie Kirk assassination. Leading up to this point, very thorough and detailed coverage from my colleague Josh Breslow, leading up to the anticipation that we were all wanting to know who is the person that was taken into custody. As we discuss the very latest, I do want to transition your screen. Take a good look. This is the latest information we have from our content partners as we are learning the suspect in custody on this Friday in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a 22-year-old from Utah. Law enforcement officials confirming that to the Associated Press. Authorities identifying the suspect as Tyler Robinson. Now, a lot to discuss, and as we continue this thorough and detailed coverage, I want to transition and bring into the conversation none other than Tim Rabelais. He previously worked for the Secret Service for 22 years on the Presidential Protective Detail. Tim, a pleasure having you join us here on Live Now from Fox. Hello to you.
Hello to you. Thanks for having me.
So a lot to discuss. Tim, let's first go through the latest from that press conference. Viewers, some just might be tuning in. What do we know? We heard from FBI Director Kash Patel saying that it took the community. It was a group effort. If you see something, say something. 33 hours it took to get to this press conference.
Yeah, listening to the press conference and, following along from the time this incident happened, it was, like Kash Patel said, it was great police work. And you can't do this without the community. And you're so right. The see something, say something, it works every time. So it sounds like a great investigation from all partners, state, local, and federal.
We heard from Utah's Governor Spencer Cox in that press conference saying that a suspect's family member actually turned him in. We're also hearing that he was joined alongside a family friend. Let's discuss that, because as the images were circulating, we had images from TMZ, we had images from the campus. We saw the suspected shooter climbing the side of the roof to get up there. There were so many people who were speculating who this person could be, many people not knowing that it would be a family member who would come out to turn this person in.
Yeah, so, a lot of these cases, just mass shooters in general, school shooters, or in this instance, most of these individuals, they have the term, we hear it all the time, but it's leakage. I don't know, but I'd be safe to say, and they mentioned it briefly in the news conference, where there may have been some leakage in him talking about it and showing this hatred towards Mr. Kirk prior to actually committing the incident. And, I'm glad that the family members helped turn him in after the fact, but I wish they were a little bit more proactive, and maybe this never would have happened.
As you say that you wish it never would have happened, some somber words from Utah's governor towards the end, and I want to quote him. For many people, it stuck out. He says, "Is this the end of a dark chapter or the beginning of a darker chapter in history? With your Secret Service expertise, unfortunately, this isn't the first type of tragedy you have covered, but so many viewers on the edge of their seats wondering, is this the end or the beginning of a darker chapter?" As Utah's governor so eloquently put it.
Yes, he brought up a couple good points, talking about the 60s, which were a little bit before my time as well, but, one of the most violent times as far as assassinations go. And with my experience, we've seen a lot of violent events, towards this country. But like you said, most importantly, we have a choice. We individually have a choice whether or not how we write this next chapter. And hopefully people take to heart exactly what he said and make that choice to turn to talking about differences and choosing towards, nonviolence.
Tim, this morning, a lot of eyes are on the weapon, even the bullet. We are learning from authorities in that press conference that a bullet had the words "Hey Fascist" written on it. For many people, they are looking back to that tragedy that unfolded at Annunciation Catholic School and Church, where we were learning that some of the magazines from that suspected gunman had words written on it, some of them political, some full of hatred. Paint the picture for us, please. Set the tone of what's going on in America today.
Yeah, and it's something that nobody really talks about is how we are trained as Secret Service agents. And there's something called the pathway to violence. And everything starts with a grievance. And obviously, the shooting in Minnesota that you referenced and the shooting that occurred in Utah on Wednesday, there was some sort of grievance. We just don't know what that grievance is right now. We could probably, try to figure out, obviously, what that grievance is. But everybody goes from a grievance to an ideation to planning, research, probing, then execution. And the key is, as Secret Service, we were taught, is to get people off that pathway to violence. And that's what I'm talking about. These individuals show a grievance, and they're writing on the shell casings and they're writing manifestos. We don't know exactly if this individual had a manifesto or not, but they're providing information prior to their acts or the execution of the violent act, and that's where we need to be better as a country. We need to see something, say something. As a friend, I don't know for certain, but there was probably some sort of leakage along his pathway to violence where he had the grievance to the ideation, the planning, the research before he executed. I don't know, for instance, but I'd be safe to say that he probably researched that site prior to committing the act on Wednesday. He probably did a dry run. He drove. He found out where to park in the neighborhood. He just didn't do that, on a whim. So we all need to be better as Americans. And if something we hear doesn't sound right, we need to talk about it, and then obviously talk to the authorities, state, local, or federal.
Yeah, Tim, as you discuss a potential manifesto, we did learn in that press conference that the family is saying that the suspect became more, quote, political recently as it relates to the current climate, as it relates to MAGA, as it relates to, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Are you seeing more of that in your line of work for those people that might not agree with what's happening in America, so they think they can take what's going on into their own hands, literally, to potentially make a change, even if it turns deadly?
Yes, unfortunately, and the rhetoric on both sides, then it justifies in people's mind that they could take a violent act to end whatever they may disagree with. So from the highest levels of this government, we all need to just put our differences aside and stop with this rhetoric. We can do it. You and I can do it. But I really hope, most importantly, our elected officials in and around the country can stop with this rhetoric on both sides, every part of the aisle, and we get back to some source of just humanity here, and so these people don't feel empowered to carry out these acts.
Tim, with your Secret Service experience, and I want you to detail it for us, for maybe the average person that might not understand what it takes to carry out safety and security, not only for the person that might be speaking at these type of political or school events, but also for those that are attending, in this case, students and faculty on the campus. So if we look back in time, we look back to the political season at that time, former President Donald Trump, we remember that tragic day where someone scaled a roof and then shot him in the ear, and so many people posing that question: how did this happen? How did Secret Service miss this? How did law enforcement not know to be on the roof already so that this doesn't happen? Months later, we are now in 2025, and we see the worst has happened to Charlie Kirk. It wasn't an ear. He lost his life. Are you seeing that strides are being made to make sure this doesn't happen again, or are you seeing a stop point to where people are just assuming that it's already done? Maybe law enforcement, they aren't all on the same page. Paint that picture for us, please, because a lot of unanswered question as it relates to how did this happen in the first place?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, I'm retired from the Secret Service, so I don't want to speak to what they're doing at this time. But I know that they've learned from that horrible experience in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they're only going to be stronger moving forward. They've been around for 160 years, and for the next hundreds of years, they're going to be even stronger. But from a level of like an individual like Mr. Kirk, he is protected by typically retired federal agents or local law enforcement. But what needs to happen is the holistic approach of a good security advance, and that starts with threat intelligence. And an individual like Mr. Kirk, you conduct an open source threat intelligence summary, and you can tell that the threat is high. Then that dictates how you approach these sites. And we're looking at some footage here of Utah Valley University, and you need to conduct a site assessment. And I've never been there, but there's high ground everywhere. You spend some time, a day, a week prior, and you create that site assessment. Then you create an advanced document for the actual visit. And everything we've been told is they had 6 security officers from the university there. Then obviously Mr. Kirk had his own detail. But for that magnitude of that crowd and the high ground exposure and a lot of the vulnerabilities there, the proper techniques weren't put in place, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, to mitigate that threat. And it just goes back to being proactive and doing the work before the event actually occurs.
Tim, thank you so much for that detailed breakdown. We are getting new images just into live now from Fox. We finally have that side-by-side booking photo. As mentioned in that press conference, the suspect on your screen identified as 22-year-old from Utah, Tyler Robinson. He has been booked into the Utah County Jail. What's next, Tim? Obviously, many people thinking he will not be able to get any type of bond. He will remain there until that first court appearance.
Yeah, I mean, everything it sounds like, especially with the director of the FBI being there, typically a murder case would be held, or prosecuted by the state prosecutors. But I would imagine they're going to come with some federal charges as well, and I'm sure he'll see the full weight of the Department of Justice coming his way, sooner than later.
Tim, we appreciate your thorough breakdown and your perspective as we continue to learn more. Obviously, you did mention a lot of questions about a potential manifesto. So obviously, even though we did hear this press conference from the FBI director, Utah governor, other law enforcement agencies, this is not the end. Honestly, it's the beginning of what we will further know in the coming days and maybe even months. For those that are wanting to know what's next, for those that are wanting to know where do we go from here, could you provide any final words to the viewers?
Yes, we have to be patient as citizens. We live in this environment now where we get everything instantly. Let's let the judicial process, play out. And this is exactly. I never met Mr. Kirk, but everything he talked about. From my perspective as well. Let the Constitution work. Let this individual have his due process, and let the investigation continue. And then let like I mentioned previously, let the full weight of the Department of Justice come at him, and I'm sure he will get what he deserves.
Tim Rebele, again, thank you so much for being so patient. You literally stayed on the feed as we both listened in real time with the viewers as that press conference unfolded. It was initially slated to start at 9 o'clock this morning Eastern time, then AP pushing it back to 9:30. Then it finally start around 10:05 Eastern time. But as you are well aware with your line of work, law enforcement agencies having to all get on the same page as information is relayed to the media. Again, thank you so much for your thorough breakdown. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.